Hello. So today I thought I should be really honest about um, the term spiritual awakening. Um, when I say that, I feel a lot of shame and embarrassment. It sounds like a total joke to me. I have a lot of judgment around it. Um, Also, people who are, very spiritual, into mysticism, into religion strongly. Um, at a certain point in my life, because of my very strict religious upbringing, I decided that I didn't believe in any of that and that I'd become an atheist. And so I have a lot of, however, I am currently experiencing a spiritual awakening. So I have a lot of shame with sharing that with people that I know or who have known me for a long time, especially my family, because I guess I think that they're going to be worried um, because I've spent a lot of time. I had a very, you know, wild party stage from age 15 to about 24. And I had this desire to go to college, and I spent my whole life working at that while I'm partying. So I was kind of all over the place. And then I've kind of landed in this science, business, finance role. And I think when I got there, they all kind of felt like, oh, she's okay now. She's going to be okay now from now on. Like, she's not all over the place making no sense. And that's really funny. I don't know. I haven't thought about it until now. But I am in a place where I have found that that isn't really me. That I really just did all that stuff to make other people think that I was fitting in with whatever they were doing. Um, and so I find myself at this place where I am interested in learning about mysticism and God and spirit, and I want to spend a lot of time learning about that and living in my body. And I mean, I found after doing these secular college job things, starting a business, I still was waking up every day like, why isn't this? I'm not enjoying anything. Like, even when we're doing things as a family, I'm always thinking about what's next, what's next. I'm never in the moment. I'm never just feeling joy or happiness or peace. I didn't even know I wanted to feel peace. And that's probably the biggest one that I want to feel. I want to feel that I have a say in how I spend my time and that I feel peaceful. So so I started looking around like what's going on. I've done everything I was supposed to. I've gone to college. I've got the cute little family. We've got the house. We've got the cars. We've got the things that Americans are supposed to care about. And I feel just deeply unsatisfied. And so I started searching for answers to why that is. And what I'm finding is, I think the first book I read that got me going, I don't even know. I guess starting a business made me realize, when I was struggling to pay my bills and not charging enough, that led me to hiring a coach, which, she told me some very basic things like Can you give yourself permission to start work at 9 a.m. instead of 8 a.m.? Do you take any time for self-care? I was like, I don't even know what that is. What is self-care? I mean, I shower. And so she was kind of showing me that, yeah, there is a reason why you're not enjoying your life, because you're not really living it. You're just working and waiting for the next thing, the next crisis, really. I was spending most of my energy waiting for the next crisis. What's going to go wrong? What's going to take everything away? Um, what's going to happen to my kids? What's going to happen to my marriage? Just spending, when's the next car accident? I mean, just living like a scared little, I don't know, whatever. So I started trying to practice this thing called self-care. And I guess the first thing that came to mind was reading, because learning is my thing. I went to college for way too long. So I know that about myself, that I just love to learn. So I looked for some books that would be helpful. And the first one I found was called The Year of No Nonsense by, I think her name's Meredith. I'll have to look it up. But she likens, she just gives personal accounts of basically the same thing that I'm going through. Living her life like not really living it, just doing what she was supposed to and doing it at the bare minimum, because it wasn't really wasn't aligned with her soul and what she wants. Even when I say the word soul, sometimes I'm like, oh, that's so far-fetched. So I'd say I'm in this awakening path, certainly not through it. And spiritual teachers that I follow say that you're never really, it's not done. It's never done. It's not a beginning and an end. It's not a linear thing. And in that book, she likens kind of healing your mental state, going back and revisiting the things that have given you some false beliefs, to peeling an onion. So like I've also heard it likened to a spiral. You're going up and down the spiral all the time. You're not going to be starting here and ending there and everything falls into place and you're enlightened and peaceful and giving love to everyone. So in the intro to this podcast, I talk about how we are all one. I currently am mentally aware of that. Like, I believe that, but trying to feel that and embody that and behave that way on the outside, that everything's love and we're all one. I'm not quite there yet. There's still a lot of shadow work that I need to do. So shadow work is, it's what I was talking about, going into your childhood, going into relationships, and you might not be able to get there. It's hard to get there because we bury things so deeply. And I guess the way to start would be to look at the things that trigger you. So things that really piss you off. Those are the things, as it turns out, that are really a reflection of something that needs to be healed within you. So things that trigger me, for example, when someone calls me dumb, or changes what I've said into something that I didn't mean. That's something that really makes me angry. Well, those are two examples. That's all that's coming to me right now. But so when I look at those things, I have to, okay, why is it that when someone calls me dumb, I'm having this big response? Because, we're all learning that what people think of us doesn't matter, even though we mostly care what people think of us, whether it matters or not. We're all still trying to please people. So, one of the tendencies that I found very strong is people pleasing. And that was affecting my business very negatively. And that comes from a feeling of unworthiness. And so when somebody calls me dumb, it takes me back to this time when my dad and I were arguing about something when I was little, and he had had a lot of wine. And he said, "Well, I'm going to smarten your dumb head up." And I didn't realize it, but I internalized that. I made it a part of my identity. I thought about it every single day until the day that I realized I thought about it every single day. And so I spent the rest of my school years, the rest of my career years, trying to prove to everybody that I'm not dumb and having my pride deeply wounded if I made a mistake or somebody pointed out an area that I needed to improve upon. I mean, a lot of energy into a little comment made by a human who is imperfect and obviously never believed that I was actually dumb. But we do that as humans. Especially when things like that are said in our childhood, we don't realize that we're in a state of hypnosis. And so we may not consciously remember these things. So that's one way to start to uncover. So from there, okay, there's that comment. And then everything else that came and triggered me after that started to be illuminated. And so that's what shadow work is. It's just shedding light, seeing what you haven't been seeing. And I have a lot more of that to do. But it's also been said that Sabrina Lynn Rewilding, she did a whole podcast on getting obsessed with shadow work, overdoing it, staying in that place too long. You can become addicted to it. You really can, to the point that it's not actually helping you anymore. So that's very interesting. I have found myself in that situation as well. So addiction is another interesting pattern. People talk about addictive personalities. Now, I'm not at all an expert in the field of recovery from addiction or anything like that, but to me, addictive personality just doesn't sound like a real thing. Maybe because when we talk about addiction, we're talking about only negative things. But what about people who form really positive habits and they know that if they don't do it, like great workouts, they know that if they don't do it, they're going to not feel good. I mean, they mentally and physically. that could be seen as an addiction. We don't have to talk about addiction as negative or positive. Uh, I think all people have the potential to develop a habit and get addicted to something. For my mom, for example, she's addicted to her religion. Like her parents were addicted to alcohol, and she could have gone down that road, but she was so hurt by the things that were done and said while her parents were drunk that she didn't choose that path. Thank goodness. But she did choose a religion, and she will not even think for herself. Whatever that religion says is what she believes, and she'll twist it into whatever way she needs to make it work with her psyche and to make it not a lie, even if it doesn't feel true. Um, and I have addictions as well. I mean, I really enjoy wine, and I might play too many games on my phone, and reading books and listening to podcasts, YouTube. Everybody's got something that they do. People could say too much, but who gets to decide? I mean, if you're healthy and your life is functioning the way that you're not being destructive, self-destructive, or destructive to others, then I don't think you need to listen to what other people say about what's too much or too little. We all like to express our opinions. We all have a lot of judgments that, judgment, that's another one. Like I said, judging the people that are really spiritual or religious. Um, that is also, that's a trigger for me. And what it's showing me is that there's a part of me that wants that. And I've been denying and ignoring it. And so I start learning about it instead of continuing to judge it. I still judge it. I'm not going to say that, oh, all judgment has now disappeared. I'm enlightened. I've seen the truth. And so now I never judge anymore. No, I still am very judgmental. But it's something that I'm working on. And it really takes a lot of energy, wastes a lot of energy to spend time in judgment. I think what judgment is it's a form of denial. Because we're clearly not seeing something that, if it invokes a strong feeling in you, then there's something in you that it's mirroring to you that you're avoiding looking at. There are people that say that really a lot more eloquently. Dr. John DeMartini, he's got a lot of podcast, YouTube videos. I don't know if he does podcasts, but he does YouTube. And on his website, he offers courses, and the way he explains, he's a really intelligent man. Sometimes at the beginning, I found him a little hard to follow, but after a little bit, when I got a sense of what he was saying, what his message was, it's great. It's a great message, and he really explains that well. Putting people on a pedestal or looking down on them, it's really just a reflection back at you of something that you need to heal or express. So if you want to hear more about that, he explains it well. So one of the very beginner techniques to dealing with this realization that you've done everything you're supposed to and that you it's not turning out that that's what you actually wanted. Um, well, I guess to recognize, awareness is a major step, and then to start finding the things that you do want to do. Like I said, when I started this, I'm 2 or 3 years in, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't have a label for it. I just was like, I'm trying to be happy. I don't want to be discontented and irritated all the time, impatient with my family, annoyed by everything, judgmental all the time. Those are not good feelings. So when I started it, I read a bunch of self-help books, and then I started searching on YouTube for terms that I had heard of from these books, and there are wonderful spiritual teachers out there. Christina Lopes is one of them, Heart Alchemist. Her videos were the ones that I started with. She has a very down-to-earth, practical way of explaining all of these concepts. And I could really understand it because I already went on the street. Because she talks about it from the scientific and medical point of view. She discusses science, and then she discusses the spiritual point of view. And so to me, that's what I need to bridge that gap, because I was so much in the science atheism kind of mindset. Turns out there's a lot of science that shows evidence of all these teachings in spirituality about the ability of a human mind to connect with others without being physically present. For example, energy, feeling energy, picking up on energy. I didn't realize how much energy I pick up just by walking into a room. I had never put words to it. We all know it's happening, but we're not maybe conscious of it. We can feel it, when you walk into a room, and this is something I used to do. Well, I probably still do it, but I'm trying not to. Walk into a room and I can feel the negativity. People are having some kind of disagreement, and I walk in and just run them over. Not physically, but I just take over the conversation. Oh, hey, how's everybody? Big smile. Oh, and if they start to talk about whatever the fight they're having, I just change the subject. So I don't let them have that conversation, because that's not what I want to be dealing with right now. And some people could, I wasn't really that aware that I was doing it. I had to be doing it consciously because I was doing it, but maybe I had thought that was a positive thing to do. Now I just see it was a way of self-protection mechanism, control. I call it controlling the room, because I grew up in a very chaotic house. There were a lot of kids that probably more raised by my siblings than my parents. And kids are great parents. So I would feel everybody's emotions and try to manipulate the room and the situation and even their feelings to make it so that they weren't fighting with each other or lashing out at me, or just trying to make all the time, but my perception of peace might not have been their perception of peace. And really, what you're doing is you're taking people's free will away when you do something like that. It's not, it's kind of manipulative because they might not know that it's going on. But if you think about that situation where there are people in a room and they're having an argument, and I come in and I shut it down, those people might have been in the midst of healing a long time wound or fight that they've been dealing with. And for me to come in and just take that opportunity away from them is not positive. And realizing that wasn't too fun. Nobody likes to find out that they're being a bully. I guess that's kind of a way of bullying people. I don't know. Not exactly, but whatever it is. So I'm consciously trying to not do that. And so the other very helpful tool that I picked up from one of Christina Lope's videos was so this was a far stretch for me, but the book is called Astrology for the Soul. And I was never a believer in astrology. Even my parents' religion, Jehovah's Witnesses, did not teach. I mean, they taught that you don't look at astrology or any other really doctrine of belief other than their, I mean, they have a normal Bible, but their interpretation of the Bible. It's not exactly open to interpretation outside of their interpretation. So astrology, I was like, oh, that's pretty far-fetched. But apparently that's a whole field of science as well. So this book is called Astrology for the Soul. Oh, I've got to find these authors' names, but I'm walking. I don't want to delay. I'll post them in comments. I think I can do that. And so it talks about your north node and south node, and based on your date of birth and a few other things. And it's just amazing how well it described me. It gave me so many insights, like very eye-opening about some of the behaviors that I was displaying, and really showed me that one of my current life missions is to acknowledge other people's feelings. So that's funny to me because I generally railroad people when they try to talk about their feelings. So because I was taught as a kid, nobody cares how you feel. Nobody's interested in hearing about your feelings or your complaints. They want you to show up for work and do a good job and get out of their way. And so that's what I grew up thinking that was my value. Show up for work, do a good job, get out of the way. You're taking up too much space. Nobody wants to hear you. They really only want to see you if you're clocked in. I think a lot of kids actually get that message. I can't say for sure, but it's probably more prevalent than we think. So yeah, acknowledging people's feelings. So that makes me stop and try to listen, because I tend to multitask. And if people are talking, I'm not stopping what I'm doing to listen to them, especially my daughter loves to talk. That's part of what makes our relationship very difficult. I tend to not talk that much, and she loves to talk. I guess I talk, I just don't want to do small talk. And she is a child, so what she talks about is generally not at all interesting to me. I mean, it's pretty. She's telling me about a YouTube video she watched that she thinks is funny. I mean, I need to be a lot better. So, what I'm working on right now is stopping when she talks to me, looking at her, giving her my full attention, and not doing the thing where I pretend to be interested, but I make it really obvious that I'm pretending because I don't want to listen. And I find it annoying that I've had to stop what I'm doing to listen to her. So I send her that message energetically when she talks to me. And then I think about, oh, well, how much of a relationship do I think she's going to want to have with me when she's older? Because, like, my whole take has been, okay, so maybe I don't find kids very interesting. I'll like her. I'll want to spend more time with her and talk with her when she's a lot older, when she's an adult. Yeah, maybe I will, but she's not going to want to talk to me with the way that I currently communicate with her. So, and even then, when she's an adult, I'm still going to be decades older than her. So I will have experience, and she's not going to want to listen to me. That's part of our conflict. She doesn't want to hear what I say because she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to be wrong. I mean, nobody wants to be wrong. But yeah, it's always a teachable moment with me and her. And she doesn't want that. She just wants to have a casual conversation, which is totally understandable. But the way I was raised, we just didn't do that. Everything. And I do remember I would get so irritated with my dad. We were at the movies watching The Lion King one time, and he was like, during the movie in the theater, analyzing the movie and making it into a biblical based story, telling us all about how Simba is Jesus and Scar is Satan and Mufasa is Jehovah. And I was just like, can we just watch a movie? Why do you have to do this? And I would say that that's probably how my daughter feels about me. I would say I'm probably pretty unaware of the fact that I'm doing that. But I think that I am, based on her responses too. I just don't know how to have light conversation. So that's something I need to learn. But I guess the point of this podcast is I follow these amazing teachers, and they have all this knowledge, and um, I think there are times when we need to hear from people who are in the thick of it, maybe, like making the leap might be too much. So maybe this is kind of a bridge. It's a person who's definitely not got it all figured out, but in the middle of the work, and talk about how uncomfortable it is and how some of the practices that I'm using to get through it. So I want to talk about affirmations briefly. When people tell me to do affirmations, I'm like, oh please, that's not going to work. And that's true. If you're not going to do it consistently, it is not going to work. But it's there's actual neurological there's neuroscience that backs up the fact that that you can change pathways in your brain, change the way you're thinking and the way your brain is wired by repetition in a new direction. So it's just like if you're learning to play tennis. Well, you didn't know how to play tennis before, but you practice and maybe you take lessons and you keep doing it and then you do know how, right? So, same thing with your patterns of thinking. If you are constantly listening to yourself berate and belittle yourself, um, what did I catch myself saying to myself yesterday? Something like, I was walking through the house, I needed to put some things away, and I was carrying my wallet, and I went past the spot where I was supposed to put my wallet down, and I caught my subconscious like snapping at me, like, put it down. That's where it goes. And I was like, whoa, is that really that big of a deal? Like, is that necessary? But when you start paying attention to the way that you talk to yourself, you'd be amazed at how mean you are to yourself. And all of that is basically the subconscious trying to keep you safe. It's danger, 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 danger. I'm going to snap at you because that's the way I stop you from doing something dangerous right away. So just observing those things and affirmations can help you start changing the way that you're talking to yourself. I'm not saying talking to yourself like you're a schizophrenic, but everybody has voices in their head. They simply do. It's your subconscious trying to keep you safe. So, hello. Yeah. So you can change what your subconscious is saying to you. It does take time. It does take consistent practice. It has to be good practice. You don't want practice that I keep hearing the phrase practice makes perfect. Untrue. Perfect practice makes perfect. I don't believe in the word perfect. Perfection is subjective and it doesn't exist. People, I mean, if there was a field where you could get something perfect, I think accounting would be one of those fields because it's either right or wrong. It's pretty black and white. You think that going into it. In school, you learn that. And then you learn that no, certain people think differently about this and that. I mean, you can code a transaction 5-10 different ways and it still makes sense. So there's no such thing as perfection. So that's another pitfall that I have found a behavior, perfectionism. That's just destructive. We weren't ever meant to be perfect. The Bible talks about Adam and Eve being perfect, and they weren't because the bite of an apple. I mean, come on. I don't think so. But it does a good job of teaching people how to stay in line and follow instructions and do whatever the church or anybody else tells them. Authority figures, government, whatever it is. So perfectionism is a very difficult one to break. People pleasing, but one of the really basic things you can start with is affirmations. And there are different views on how to do affirmations. Some people say you talk in the affirmative, like it's a current fact. I am intelligent. I am worthy. And there are some people that say, nope, your subconscious is catching you in a lie, and so it's going to have a negative reaction to that. And it's going to, because currently you believe that's a lie, even though it definitely is not. Because you believe it is currently, your your brain will have a response. I've got some allergies. It's very windy here. Where it will just kind of have a denial response, is what happens. And so, or it's what some people think might happen. I say keep it as simple as possible. If you don't want to feel like you're catching yourself in a lie, you can say, I am working toward feeling more worthy. I am ready to feel worthy. Or you can say, I am worthy, whichever one works with you. And one of the most challenging things about waking up for me has been connecting with my body and feeling the way the words and situations make my body feel, because I had strongly disassociated from my body at a young age. And I just ignored how my body felt most of my life. I'm starting to observe, oh, when I say this, or if I say something untrue or hurtful, I tense up, my stomach hurts, whatever it is. So connecting with the way your thoughts and your words and behaviors, how your body reacts to them, will give you a good indication of things you need to look at and dive deeper into, and maybe uncover some false beliefs or some trauma that you've dealt with. Okay, so that's all I've got. Everybody have a good afternoon.